Number 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Avoid detailed descriptions of characters. So what I think Elmore Leonard is saying here, now, I don't really give very detailed descriptions of my characters. I do more description now than I used to, I think. And sometimes beta readers are like, it would be helpful if you told me what color hair this character has. And I'm like, why? Why does it matter if she has red hair or brown hair? What does it matter? What does it matter if, if it's not important to the story? But anyway, what he's saying here is your characters should let your reader know who they are by what they say and what they do. That is what defines them. And I don't really know what else I have to say about that. Like, if you have to spend a whole lot of time, there's something that's interesting that kind of ties into this, that in Stephen King's book On Writing, which is a sort of a Bible, for a lot of authors, Stephen King says that you only describe a place if it's important. And he says, like, you can give a one-sentence description to a house, but if your characters are gonna stay in that house and explore that house, and it's gonna be a setting in the novel that appears multiple times, then you should explain it more. And that makes sense, particularly the part about characters moving around in a house. Like if the geography or the blocking or the layout of a place is important, then I definitely describe it. Particularly like if there's a fight scene in a book where the layout of the room plays a factor in the fight scene, absolutely. You don't want to have characters be punching each other and then 6 paragraphs in, a character grabs a framed picture off the wall and breaks the glass over the other character's head. The reader will be like, whoa, where did that come from? Where did that framed picture come from? But if you establish before the fight that there is a row of portraits on the wall, that glass framed portraits, then the reader's not surprised when 3 pages later one character breaks it over the other character's head. Anyway, which actually just feeds into rule number 9. Nope. Okay. This is hard because I know how to count. Okay. It's just reversed compared, so it kind of looks weird. Don't go into great detail describing places and things. So 8 and 9 are essentially the same rule. But he's saying, don't go into great detail describing places and things, which feeds into what Stephen King said about that. And essentially, he's saying, keep the pace moving forward. When you get bogged down into describing something, or here's somebody who I think is a big sinner when it comes to this, is Dan Brown. Now, I know Dan Brown is really popular, and criticizing Dan Brown might not be the most popular thing. I've liked most of his books, the ones I've read. I liked the Da Vinci Code. I liked the one set in America. I can't remember. Angels and Demons, not so much, and Inferno, not so much. I haven't read Origin, but anyway. So the point is, I'm not trying to be like condescending and above Dan Brown or hate on Dan Brown people. All right, I'll stop making excuses. One thing that Dan Brown does that drives me crazy is he will, in the middle of an action scene, in the middle of a scene where 2 characters are fleeing for their lives, he'll take 3 paragraphs to explain something out of nowhere. They're running, like they're running for their lives, and then they run into the Plaza del Biapoulaphos in Greece, and Robert Langdon will say, did you know that the Plaza del Biapoulaphos was first established in the year BC 2500, and it was used as a forum for, like, nobody cares, dude. I care about the characters that are running away. You don't need to tell us about the Plaza de Biapoulaphos, which would definitely probably not a plaza in Greece. It's probably more likely a Sesame Street character. Anyway, rule number 10, try to leave out the part that readers tend to skip. Now, I could have sworn there was one in here that said, avoid cliches like the plague. That's why I kept looking over here and being like, oh, where's that one? Anyway, try to leave out the part that readers tend to skip. Now, I remember reading this in the New York Times article, and he went on to say after that, like, I bet you readers don't skip dialogue. And I've noticed that's true. Like sometimes if if I start to skim, it's because an author is describing something too much. Like he might be telling me about how the sun bounces off a tin roof in rural Texas. And I know the author is doing that because he wants me to feel like the town is a character, and he wants me to really understand the mindset of the characters, and what it's like to live in this tiny little town in West Texas, whatever. But I don't care. I don't care what it's like for the sun to bounce off a roof in West Texas. What I do care about is character development, what the characters say, what the characters do. So the parts that I tend to skip, and I think probably most readers tend to skip, is after you, especially if you say something more than once, that's definitely what I will skip. If you tell me that it's raining, and then you tell me that it's humid, and then you tell me that it's hot, and then you tell me that it's wet, really you didn't need to tell me all four of those things. That's when I start to skim, and I'm just going to look for two characters interacting, because that to me signals the possibility of conflict, which is what I'm interested in, which is what I want to read. Now, and then there's one more rule, the bonus rule, where he says, my most important rule is the one that sums up the 10. If it sounds like writing, I rewrite it. That is the golden rule, right? If it sounds like writing, if it sounds forced, if it sounds like something I'm overwriting or being deliberate about, then I want it to sound more natural. Okay, so that was all of Elmore Leonard's rules, and along with some side tangents about Dan Brown and David Mitchell, and some things I like, some things I don't like. I hope I didn't offend anybody. If I did, I'm sorry. What can I do? But hopefully you got something out of this. And all right, take it easy, juggling author.